Okay, so I've got a bunch of the pattern paper on now. I did miss a little bit of what I wanted to show you. However, I didn't realize my camera has an automatic shut, like it stops recording after 25 minutes, and I don't always notice when it stops recording because the actual lens doesn't retract all the time. So anyway, you missed me. All I did was I put this together. Remember how we said we were going to fold this over each other so it formed this curved bit? So I just added score tape and wet adhesive to one side and then just folded the other side over it. So now it has this rounded spine. And I put a few sets of magnets. I've got one set going from the back of this piece to here. And then I've got another set here. Okay, so I'm just going to really slowly go through the pieces of paper that I used. I used the 2 full 8x8 packs, and I also made a bunch of papers myself and used some coordinating cardstock. So there's a few papers, this one for instance, and this one I just made myself on a gel plate. I will be doing a video on what I did. Really simple. I just used water and infusions, like a pigment powder on the gel plate. So we can do that in another video. All right, so first I've got the lion and the mouse. So just plain cardstock up there. On this part, I've kind of done a little bit of like paper chunking, you know, just bits of, I try to use up all the scraps, so that sometimes dictates how I actually mat things. But each of the stories, I made this album specifically the size that I did so that each of the stories from the 8x8 pack could be placed down whole for the most part. So I wanted you to be able to fit an 8x8 piece of paper with a little border. Okay, this was another piece that I did on the gel plate, and then I did a stencil over top of it. So it's this really cool lion stencil. Okay, so that's page 1. Page 2 and 3 are the mouse stories. So City Mouse and Country Mouse. So it's a 2-page spread. So over here, I've added magnets between each of these. So it goes like that, and it's just plain paper in between. And then I just have a little piece of ribbon that I've folded over as a pull tab. Okay, and then the same over here, and I've just left, oh, I need to cover this one. Haven't done that yet. Oh, I need to cover all of the inside. Okay, so we'll have to do that still, and then when you open it up like this, it's just blue on the inside. And this was another piece that I was trying to coordinate with the pieces that were already part of the collection. So I think I did a pretty good job, actually. Okay, so I'll put some pattern paper there. On the other page here, again, I've got some ribbon pulls. And then I didn't put pattern paper on everything. I left a little bit blank for just for photos or journaling. And then this is the pocket. I haven't got anything in the pocket as of yet. Okay, and now on pages, what is this, 4 and 5. So we've got the Fox and the Grapes and the Fox and the Crow. So I love that they could stay as full images. And open it up like this. So now this is where we had the mechanism that rotated. Okay, so I haven't put the pattern paper on yet because I wanted to show you, I wanted to do this with you, like taking out the brad and then putting it back in. So I'm just going to stick my hand back in the side here and undo the tines. Just going to take that whole thing off. And then I'm going to add my pattern paper, which is going to be this piece right here. But I do want to add magnets first. So I'm going to place 2 magnets at the top and bottom of this piece here. Score tape. Okay, so 2 magnets there and 2 magnets there. And now we're going to, I'm going to take this brad right out just so it's not interfering. I actually forgot to take these, put these magnets on initially, but I really wanted them. So I had already put pattern paper underneath this and had to take it up, and it didn't want to come up very nicely. So you can see there that it's like, I don't know if you can see in the camera or not, but it's the page got a little ripped and Katya had a little hissy fit. wasn't pretty sight. It wasn't one of my proudest moments, but every once in a while, you know, I do get frustrated and I threw a little hissy fit and then calm myself down, and now I'm back here and we're good to go. All right, so now we can put our piece of paper down. Okay, so once that piece is on, you need to kind of re-measure where this hole should be. So it should be 1/8. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to need to put that brad back through. Okay, and then open the tines on the inside, and then I recommend covering it with a little piece, covering the tines with a little piece of cardstock or something. I've got a little tiny piece of Tyvek that was just in my scraps, so I'm going to use that just to cover up the tines, just so they do not open up sometime in the future when you do not want them to. Okay, and now we can put our few pieces of paper on our waterfall here, and then you can have either horizontal or vertical pictures. Okay, so I'm going to put some pattern paper on here. Okay, I've already put some little bits of paper in between those 1/2 inch gussets there. Okay, and I'm going to leave the rest of these blank just for photos or journaling. Okay, so that is page 4, and then on 5. And now I'm going to put some patterned paper on these bits. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to leave the insides of these open. Okay, so I'm going to put this piece here, and then I'm going to cut 4 for these pieces here just to cover that 1/2 inch part there. Okay, and that is page 5. I just put some plain paper on there so you can journal or put photos or whatever it is you desire. Okay, and then this keeps everything closed. All right, and then on to 6 and 7. So 6 we pretty much finished already, right? They just have to put something into the pocket. 7, so on page 7 I cut apart the story. The rest of them I kind of tried to keep it all together, but this one I decided to cut apart. So just in case you wanted to see what I was doing. And then underneath is again one of the pieces that I made. And it opens like that. I haven't got anything in the pocket quite yet. And then this pulls down and opens like that. Okay, so nothing too fancy on this page. I just cut around this part, and then from what was left I cut out these parts here. Okay, and then page 8 is the hen and the golden egg. So nothing too fancy. Oh, I need to have this open. And that opens like that, and then it's just paper piecing, and once again, this is some of the paper that I made on the gel plate, which is really fun. I'm gonna definitely have some videos showing that. And that goes all up like that. Okay, so that is your album. Page is done. Now we need to create our cover. So for the cover, you're going to need 2 pieces of like a medium weight chipboard that measure 9 by 9 inches. And then you'll need 1 piece that measures 2.5 inches by 9 inches. And this one is a little bit thinner. It's a lightweight chipboard. And taken my paper trimmer and I've put in a really old dull blade. It's sharp enough to cut a little bit, but not very much. And I've just cut it so that it's about halfway through. It doesn't cut all the way through. At 5/8 intervals, I've kind of cut the spine piece just so it will curve. But I don't want it to, I still want it to remain one piece. If you don't have a dull blade for your paper trimmer, you can just take a craft knife and really lightly go along a ruler. Because I decided I wanted to keep the spine just the way it is, like curved the way it is. So we're just gonna cover this and put it on like that. Okay? All right, so to cover our chipboard pieces, I want to cover our chipboard in this faux leather that I made. I have a video showing how to do this. I will link it down below so you can check that out, because I really want this to look like an old storybook, you know, like a fairy, not a fairy tale book, but an old Fables book. So I want it to be fairly vintage. So what I'm going to do is, okay, so I'm gonna wrap it in this leather, or faux leather. I wish that I'd kept this, this was all one long sheet, and I wish I'd kept it as one sheet. I had cut it up because I was gonna do something else with it and then change my mind. So if you do make it in one big long sheet, that would be even better than cutting it apart. However, before we wrap this all up, we need to attach our spine piece and our front and back covers together. So I'm going to do that via strips of Tyvek. So I'm going to take a Tyvek envelope, and I'm going to cut some strips that are about 1.5 to 2 inches wide, somewhere around there. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so I've got 2 strips now that look like that from an envelope. I'm going to cut these apart and then add score tape all over the back of them. Okay, so you should have a couple Tyvek strips now that look like that. If you don't have Tyvek, then, I mean, in a pinch, something like duct tape would work. Good. You need something that is like very thin and doesn't rip easily. So what we're going to do is remove the backing from the strip and add some wet adhesive to it. I'm going to kind of use my finger to spread it out because I got a couple bigger gloopy globs than I intended to. Okay, so now we're going to take our left piece and place it onto the Tyvek, and then we're going to take our spine piece and we're going to leave about at least 1/8 of an inch space in between the 2 pieces of chipboard. And then we're going to fold up and down our pieces of Tyvek. Okay. And then we're going to use the other piece and do the same thing on this side. Okay, there we go. So now we've got a curved spine cover. All right, and now I'm going to try to wrap it. So I tried to put this back together again. I just did the thin line, a thin bead of glue on either side of one of the pieces and tried to put it all back together again, just like Humpty Dumpty. So now I'm going to put adhesive all over the back side of the album here and flip it over onto our piece of faux leather. So just gonna I'm not gonna do this on camera because this is gonna take just a little bit. So I'll just put all of my score tape and wet adhesive on the back here and then flip it over onto the faux leather. Once this is all together, you need about an inch all the way round, or as close to an inch as you can get it. I think I only have about 3/4 of an inch on the top and bottom, but that's okay. We will make do with that. But somewhere around there. So if you didn't do the leather, don't want the leather, and you just want paper, just glue a couple pieces of paper together till you have a piece that is to be about 21 inches across and about 11 inches high. Okay, so I'll be back in just a sec when I have all my adhesive on. Okay, so I've got all my adhesive on, both the score tape and the wet adhesive, and now I'm going to flip the whole thing over and try to center it onto what I'm wrapping it in. Okay, so now we are going to put both score tape and wet adhesive all the way around the perimeter of this. Okie dokie, and now we are going to, I'm just going to cut the corners at an angle here like we would with a pocket. Okay, and now we are going to remove one side of the score tape backing. And then I'm going to add some wet adhesive. Okay, and then I'm going to fold this over. Just moving slowly, starting at the middle and going towards the edges. What is underneath there? Oh. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Well, with all four sides, actually. Okay, so once that is done, I'm going to cut a piece of white cardstock just to go over the center here to hide all of this. So I'm going to cut a piece that is 8 1/4 by 5. Okay, so we're going to adhere that piece right over the spine there. I'm going to use some wet adhesive for this one as well. My glue is singing to me. Okay, so this piece is just going to go right over top of all of this. Okay, and then just really burnish this down, make sure it's really down there, and then use a ruler to kind of put in between the crease here. You want to make sure that that is well creased. Oh, I've got something on my ruler apparently. Okay, so I like to stand it up and push on everything, just make sure everything is really well adhered, and it should look like that minus the dirt from a ruler. Okay, so now we can add our pages into our album. So I've already got some adhesive, like some score tape on the back here, and we're gonna add some wet adhesive and then plop it onto our spine. Okay, so now first I'm just gonna quickly look to see which side I want to be the front of my album. I'm gonna choose this side. All right, so I'm going to put my pages down. And I'm gonna kind of push in between the pages and just try and make sure that they are really adhered. And then close that up and do it from every angle. You can always, I might clamp it for a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep it clamped like that for a little bit just to make sure that it is completely dry, and then we will move forward. Okay, so my spine is all adhered and the glue is dry. All right, so I had planned on doing some interactive elements on the inside front and the inside back covers. However, I ran out of paper. I literally have, this is what I have left. I have a couple scraps, and I might still cut apart this piece, which has the cut apart, so I might still use that as cut aparts, but I ran out of paper, so I decided to not do the elements and just finish them off simply like that. Okay, so now I'm going to do the cover. So I've got these metal corners, and they were a little bit darker, they were that color, and I just used some gold rub and buff, gold leaf rub and buff, to make them just a little bit brighter. And so they're gonna go on the four corners. And then I've got this chipboard piece. Hi, Zuri. This chipboard piece from Renea's Bouquets. And I have covered it in some white gesso. And I'm going to put some of this gold leaf rub and buff all over it as well. And then I cut out the just the title of the paper collection, the Aesop's Fables, and I'm going to put that in the center. So that is my plan for the cover. I'm not sure if I should do anything else or if that is going to be enough. I felt like I wanted to keep it fairly simple because I didn't want to take away from the leather part of it. I really like that, so I didn't want to go too crazy. We'll see. I might add a couple little other bits and bobs. I haven't quite decided. I almost want to put this on the spine and maybe use a gemstone in the center. I will figure it out, but that is my plan. But feel free to do whatever it is that you so desire on your cover. And with that, you have just completed the Aesop's Fables album. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. A little bit different than what I normally do. A little few departures from the norm. But yeah, I think it turned out quite well. So I hope you loved it, and I hope you will come back. I've got a lot more exciting things in the works, so more creative creations coming up. Anyway, love you all. Huge hugs. I will see you very soon. Bye.